Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, and welcome to another edition of the Lap Down Podcast. I am your host, Greg Farmer, and tonight I have Jamie, Ryan, and Tyler with me. And boy, do we have a lot to cover tonight, fellas. How are we doing?
Oh, I'm
Doing
ready to
pretty good.
get rock and rolling. This is gonna be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So, if you guys are ready, grab your popcorn, grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite five-course meal, whatever it is that you want, because we are going to discuss everything that happened at Richmond over the weekend. First, right off the bat, so it does not get lost in translation, the tire compounds that they had this weekend, they had the option of the Prime tire, which is their standard hard tire, and the option Reds, which is a soft, grippier, faster tire. Based on what I saw, I was actually able to watch the race from start to finish, and they were actually making that soft tire work. Especially Daniel Suarez in the middle of, I believe it was stage 2. He pitted and drove from like 17th or 18th all the way up to the lead and won the stage.
That was
And
the
it
end of the
looked,
race, actually.
well, he did
No,
it
that
in the
was
middle
in
of the
stage
race
two.
too.
Yeah,
he
but
did.
I
He
give
did
him
it
a
in the
little
middle
bit
of
of
the
credit.
race.
Michael McDowell also went from a lap down in 31st place up into the top 10 with the tires too.
Yeah, he did. So, starting with Jamie, in your opinion, did you see an improvement with the soft tires? Did it like make the racing better?
Yeah, I definitely think it made the racing better. One thing that I will say, uh, I'm glad that we got to see the both sides of the soft tire. It wasn't like races past where everyone just put on the option Reds and it just lasted for an entire stage run. We got to see these things wear out quick, and yes, if you use strategy into it, which I think it is something that NASCAR needed, was to add another layer of strategy for these teams. Getting to see both the good and the bad sides of having the option Reds. One bad side is like I forget who it was. I think it was Chastain or somebody, where they were the only one on yellows or on the primaries, and everybody else was on the option Reds, and they just plummeted in the matter of 2 laps. But then, about halfway to 3/4 into the run, all of a sudden he's right back to where he had started, and he was tracking down the leader because everyone else was on the Reds. So you see the both sides of everything, but overall I liked it.
What about you, Ryan?
I actually quite like the fact that they had 2 different tires to choose between, and the speed difference between them. I mean, every once in a while you would have a situation where one guy was basically on an island by himself with all the option tires around him, but I think that just showed me, especially at the very end of the race, that the guys who were able to conserve that extra set of option tires for overtime were able to absolutely take off with it.
What about you, Tyler?
Oh, yeah, like, towards the end of the run, like, especially with the tires heated up, those tires were almost a second and a half faster than on the option tires for Prime. I thought it was great, the fact that, like, there was a raw pace difference between not all the Prime and the option.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree with something that Ryan said before we started recording. They didn't really let us know until like the middle of stage 1 that the teams were only allowed 2 sets of the option tires, which I mean, I see why, but let us know beforehand, because we going into the race, we really didn't know how many sets that they had to actually be able to run. And I mean, like Jamie said, you saw the difference between the hards and the softs. When Daniel Suarez put the softs on, he was on an island by himself, just mowing through the field. And then at the end of the race, when everyone took on reds and Suarez didn't have another set left sitting in the pits, he restarted sixth and ended up finishing like 21st.
That was wild.
And
Yeah, I do agree.
I actually am curious if that'll make it that the next time they have the option tires at the track, if everybody will basically be forced to try and save a set of tires for that potential overtime.
I wouldn't necessarily use the word force on that. I think the planning for the tires and understanding, like, look, let's say we got 3 tires on the day. We can incorporate our options here, and then we'll keep another pair on the back burner in case we get a late caution or go into overtime, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, my point to using the word force there was more so because of just the necessity of if we don't have that extra set of option tires at the end, we're cooked.
Yeah, I mean that's still just strategy, though.
Yep.
well, you bring up a great point about seeing them, quote unquote, the next time. My next question: could or would we possibly see them back on the track again during the playoffs? So let's say maybe a Martinsville or a Phoenix.
Yes, and Roval.
Ooh, that would actually be kind of, or Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen'd be a pretty good one too.
What about you, Jamie? You got any thoughts on that?
I mean, I would love to see them on flat surface
Kinda.
tracks. I think that should be the criteria, like flat surface tracks. Because I mean, Richmond doesn't really have that much banking as like other tracks. Phoenix would be the only one I'm kind of iffy on, just because of the banking and the turns. But outside of that, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I
Phoenix
think
is really only banked in like 3 and 4 coming to the start finish line. Turns 1 and 2 are pretty flat.
Yeah, but that could be the difference maker, though.
The dog leg's
Yeah,
pretty
true.
big too.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can all admit that Phoenix has needed something to be done for a few years now, and this might be the thing we need to try.
I
Oh, for
think
sure.
even with the Gen 6 car, it was not very good racing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, only time will tell. I mean, I think it was a very big step in the right direction as far as trying to quote unquote fix the short tracks. You know, as we've said time and time again on this podcast, they've tried different things, changing the car and taking parts off, putting parts on and stuff. And this one with the tires it was like the first real step in the right direction as far as better racing product, I would say. But we're going to jump into the real big, juicy stuff from Sunday night. Austin Dillon had a great weekend as far as a car goes, practicing. I mean, I don't know if he qualified too well, but
Qualified top 10.
oh, he did. Okay. Um, he straight late in the race, he straight up passed Denny Hamlin for the lead and looked like he was going to set sail to win his first quote unquote legitimate race in the NASCAR Cup Series until a late race caution came out between Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Ryan Preece that forced a green white checkered situation. Everyone pitted, took on the Reds, and on the ensuing restart, Joey Logano beat Dillon coming through turns 1 and 2, and then they take the white flag and coming through turns 3. Dillon was about 4 car lengths back and absolutely shipped it in there and didn't even try to make the corner. He bumped Joey Logano,
Okay.
causing Logano to spin, and then came down. And Denny Hamlin was in the process of passing him for the lead, and came down and right reared Denny Hamlin into the outside wall and won the race. You know, we saw NASCAR Twitter and NASCAR Facebook kind of explode after that. We waited and waited and waited for the penalty report to come out, and it finally came out at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Dillon will be able to keep the win, but he lost his playoff berth and all of his playoff points that he earned from this race, and was also docked 25 points, and his spotter was suspended for 3 races due to conduct unbecoming of a NASCAR driver and spotter. And this is actually in the rule book, actions detrimental to the sport. And Joey Logano was also fined $50,000 for his post-race burnout on pit road in front of Austin Dillon's crew and his wife and child that were standing on pit road. Now, my first question to you guys, starting with Jamie, is Elton Sawyer said that it was really close to crossing the line, but they didn't really say what that line was. Jamie, in your opinion, what was the line that was crossed? Was it him spinning Logano or him wrecking Denny Hamlin?
I think it's a combination of both. It's the actions of a driver doing whatever he feels like in the moment that he needs to do to win, whether it means wrecking one person, 2 people, 3 people, potentially injuring the driver because he's just turning people left and right to try to get a race win. I don't think it's a matter of one separate incident. I think it's the total incident that rubbed NASCAR the wrong way. I mean, if he just went right in, if it was just a Joey Logano incident and just full sent it in, turned him, and ended up winning the race, he may have gotten a fine for that, but people could have just looked at it as like bump and run kind of stuff.
But going after Denny Hamlin, that was where front line crap. That was not okay. That was unsportsmanlike conduct. I call that unsportsmanlike conduct.
All right, well, let Jamie finish his thoughts real quick.
Sorry, I have very, very big opinions on it.
And when it comes to the Denny Hamlin one, I mean, we've seen drivers get suspensions for retaliation of turning people, but that wasn't a retaliation of Denny Hamlin doing anything wrong. That was just Austin Dillon being stupid and being a greedy little dwarf man and trying to get a win because he is just a terrible race driver. Honestly, I think he should have gotten suspended along with everything, but I think they did set a precedent by taking away the playoff berth, and even if he does end up miraculously winning another race,
right now I'm working on that. What the?
Mute, please.
A little loud, yes.
Tyler, mute.
Tyler, please mute.
You're on the phone, just customers around. They're going to be complaining, associates complaining.
Tyler, please mute. Thank you. Sorry, Jamie.
I lost my train of thought.
What you were talking about talking about the suspension and the right rearing and stuff.
Oh yeah, I think he should have gotten more than just losing his his playoff berth. He should have gotten a suspension because we've seen other drivers get suspended for turning people on the right rear, and because that is a dangerous area to turn somebody because they can go head on into a wall, and heaven forbid we have any more on-track incidents that lead to fatalities or significant damage to a driver that shortens careers. But it's the event as a whole, not necessarily just one or two separate events. That's where I believe your question resides as to where the line is. It's the overall actions of a driver trying to dictate the outcome of the race and willing to do whatever means necessary.
Yeah. Now, I do agree with the what you said about the suspension. However, Elton Sawyer went on record to say actually today on SiriusXM after the penalties came out that the reason why they did not suspend Austin Dillon was because even though he right-reared Denny Hamlin, it was not in an act of retaliation. It was in an act of trying to win the race, which doesn't really, uh, fix that problem. But the precedent, like you said, had been set for suspensions on right rearing for acts of retaliation. This, in their eyes, was not Austin Dillon retaliating against Denny Hamlin. It was just him, like you said, being a dumbass, pardon my French, doing everything that he could to win the race. But we'll move on to go ahead. Go ahead.
Here's where I feel like he should have gotten the suspension. It's not necessarily that, like, I know that NASCAR has it in the guidelines, like, it has to be an act of retaliation for suspension. But when we're talking about the significance of getting turned in the right rear and all the possibilities that could come with that decision, if it is an intentional turning in the right rear, that should be an automatic suspension. So hopefully NASCAR does the right thing and they make an addendum to that rule. And they just, instead of it just being a retaliation move, any intentional turning of an opponent from the right rear will result in suspension. That's just me.
Yep. And the spotter suspension comes from if you listen to the radio transmission, I'm paraphrasing here. His spotter said, "I don't care how you do it," before he bumped Logano. And then when he bumped Logano, he said, "Down, down, 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 wreck him, wreck him." And he was referring to Denny Hamlin. So that's where the spotter suspension comes in, which I totally 100% agree with. A spotter should not be telling a driver to intentionally wreck another driver. But we will move to Mr. Ryan and get his thoughts on all of this.
All right. So, yeah, about like an hour before the actual penalty report, basically while we were all just here sitting, waiting, refreshing phones and stuff for the penalty report, I actually said what I thought the penalty report should be. And I said I felt like the spotter needed a 3 to 6 week suspension for the for that radio communication because of, I don't care that, oh, well, they're technically not driving the cars. Still saying that, I mean, you're the person telling them what to do for the most part. That's where I see it for the spotter. For the driver, I mean, I think I didn't really care about what else you do. You had to, the only thing that was going to make it actually make them feel anything was going to be taking away that playoff spot.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
So, actually, can we just go back to Richmond 2013, Ty Norris and Clint Boyer? Date? I'm surprised they were leaning on his spotter because they suspended Ty Norris indefinitely.
Yeah, I remember that.
Just pointing that out.
Yeah, well, one could argue that it was more of an act in retaliation. That was more in an act to try and work around the playoff system for another driver, not trying to benefit your own driver.
Right.
I know it's only a small technical difference, but still something.
No, I would still consider it in the same class because he did try to say wreck.
Yep. My next question about all this is starting with Jamie again. Had NASCAR not acted on a penalty report and just let this go, sweep it under the rug, whatever, it's okay. Would we see this again? Maybe even for the championship. You got, let's say, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, somehow Austin Dillon or whoever, and like another guy battling for the championship, and one driver is in like second or third place, and he's on the cusp of winning the championship, and he just goes and cleans out the front two cars to win the championship. Would it be possible to see this happen once again?
Oh, I definitely think it would be possible. And honestly, NASCAR would lose a lot of credibility as an elite sport as they're working tirelessly to get to. Because you got a lot of young drivers in the league now. You got a lot of young drivers who are impressionable, and if they see a guy like Austin Dillon get no type of repercussions for just being moving chicane and causing damage to race cars and not caring about the consequences if it ultimately means he can get a win, then of course they're going to be super aggressive on the restarts and on the finishes and playoff elimination races and things like that could turn out very badly because people are going to start driving like a bunch of madmen, and that's whereas like if you are an investor of the sport or if you're like I would even say like even watching it, like if I knew it was going to be happening, there's going to be a lot of people that would get excited about that, sure, but I'm not watching NASCAR for the wrecks. I'm watching it for the strategy. I'm watching it for the sport of it. I'm watching it to see the absolute best drivers showcase as to why they're the best drivers. And one of the things that I was having a conversation with another guy at work, and he was like, well, I don't see anything wrong with it because Dale did it. I mean, we're talking about a long, long time ago, a totally different era where Dale Earnhardt did things the way Dale Earnhardt wanted to. He would not be able to get away with half the crap that he got away with in today's day and age of NASCAR.
He also did it very few and far between.
No, I agree, but it's just the fan mindset of still having that mindset of, oh, I see nothing wrong with it because Dale did it. It just irks me, and I think it's just people who don't want to see NASCAR grow as a sport. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and another thing that I'll throw out there too that was mentioned when I listened to Door Bumper Clear today is you got fans who have probably been fans for a very long time. They've probably seen Dale Earnhardt or whoever to do what he did and up to the modern era and stuff like that. But if NASCAR didn't act on this, that sends a message to the up and coming younger drivers, like in let's say the ARCA series, or maybe they're racing on their local NASCAR grassroots track, or even kids racing Legends cars and Bandoleros, thinking that when they get to this level in the sport, that's okay. But in reality, it's not okay. What are your thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, if NASCAR let this go, the question is, what would be next? Someone doing it for the championship, like you mentioned, possibly someone trying to do this at somewhere more dangerous, like trying to do this at Daytona or Talladega. I worry as to where it would have gone next, and you really can't just let it slide.
Yeah. What about you, Tyler? You think this would have happened again in the very near future? Tyler? Okay.
And Tyler popped out.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll go on to my next question. Oh,
Check,
no,
check.
Tyler's back. Yep, we got you.
Oh
So,
yeah, 100%.
yeah,
I agree. It shows a message to like NASCAR doesn't care to let boys have at it. Like it just shows that. And it makes the younger guys think that NASCAR doesn't have any rules. Basically, it's a free for all. And if that happened in the championship, NASCAR would lose a lot of money and a lot of and credibility. I 100% agree with the credibility.
yeah, I agree. My next question, a lot of people were viewing this with Austin Dillon as like a move of desperation because he was sitting 32nd in the points. He hasn't had the season that he wanted to have. Neither has Kyle Busch, for that matter, RCR as a whole. But this was like his best shot to win a race. Is the format, like the playoff format, to blame for this? Because it's the whole win and you're in. Before the penalty, he went from 32nd to 16th in the playoff standings, or 13th or something like that. And, it's the format to blame for all of this. Jamie?
I don't know if the format would be to blame for this, because when you look at how long it's been since Austin Dillon has gotten a win, let alone a win that he actually had a good car in, I could see him acting the same way, trying to get a win, as opposed to him knowing that it would get him a playoff spot. Now, should NASCAR change that? I don't think so, because despite what some of the old heads of NASCAR say, it has created some better avenues and some better racing, especially for stage points, and forcing the drivers who are already well and good and ready to get to the championship to keep racing, because you want to get those extra bonus points. You want to get you want to perform well, because you don't want the random chance that if you are right on that bubble line, to have a guy like an Austin Dillon all of a sudden have a great day, and all of a sudden you're not in playoff contention. It forces you to perform on a more consistent basis. So I don't think the format had anything to do with that. I think it had everything to do with how long has it been since he's actually had a win, and how hungry was he going to be, and how determined was he going to make it happen.
Yeah. So I have to disagree with you on one thing. I do believe that they should change the format of the win and you're in. I've said it before on this podcast. I absolutely cannot stand the win and you're in, because you have so many wild card tracks, Daytona, Talladega, some of the road courses where the road course ringers would be good, but they're not necessarily good on the ovals. And they, if they get a win, they take up a playoff spot, and then they don't do anything for the rest of the playoffs and get eliminated in the first round, when someone else could have been in the playoffs that ran somewhat decent, but maybe had a bad race or two. I think that the playoff field should be set based on consistency. Like, you can keep the stages, you can keep the stage points, you can keep the playoff points, all that good stuff. Just base it on consistency throughout the regular season. Because, you saw back in 2014, Ryan Newman almost won the championship without winning a single race. He literally made it all the way through the regular season and the playoffs just on consistency. So I know it can be done.
Can I go next?
Go ahead, Tyler.
So my opinion on this is that I actually like the win you're in, but I don't like how the fact that anybody can win here. I like the fact that, like, I would say anybody within the top 25 in points can make it and win. Anybody back behind that has no shot at the playoffs. That's the only thing that was.
That's how it used to be. It used to be top 30, and you had to be top 30 in points for your win to count.
No, I'm saying, like, if your win to count and you're 30, if you're 26 or below, your win will count, but it won't count for a playoff race.
That's
You
what
have
I'm
to be
saying.
make it more
That's how.
strict, and make it more strict than 30th. I'd say top 25, and that's it. But I do like the win in your end. I like how the format is, but it needs to be less of a gimmick. Make the races more, but make the races feel more important in the regular season, and it'll make for less desperation. I honestly didn't really care for it when it first came out in 2014, 2015, because I'm a huge Dale Earnhardt Jr. fan. And Talladega 2015, I'm still salty about. But that's the only year I'm. Otherwise, it's not a terrible format. It could be improved, yes, but it's not the worst format.
I'm not sure if
Didn't
something's
realize
going on
that.
with Greg.
Nope, didn't realize I was muted. My bad. Ryan, what are your thoughts? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So, yeah, it used to be that way that in order for your win to count towards getting you into the playoffs, like I think I remember Chris Buescher's win in 2016. After he got that, he had to fight to try and stay inside that top 30 so that his win would actually count towards the playoffs. So, if that kind of system came back, or even potentially with a top 25 requirement, I think that would be a good way to try and keep it. Because then, if Austin Dillon's win did stand, he would still have to fight the remaining 3-4 races to stay inside the top 25 or 30.
Yeah.
And here would be my personal recommendation of a solution. Potentially make it that that it requires 2 wins to lock in rather than just one. That way you can't get lucky just once and make it. You would either need to get lucky twice, like Stenhouse in 2017 at Daytona and Talladega in back-to-back super speedway races, or just be a good driver over the course of the season. I think you'd see a lot less kind of lucky flukes in. And the only maybe asterisks I would say is maybe you guarantee the people who win your crown jewel races, so your Daytona 500 winner, your Coke 600, Brickyard 400 winners get automatically locked in, but that might make it a little too complicated, so I think just leaving it at 2 wins required to make the playoffs would probably be the simplest solution.
I like that idea. If they didn't take away the win and you're in, but I've got kind of a feeling that something might be done during the off season, as far as the format based off this.
I don't think they're going to completely like turn it around because of how many iconic moments that the playoff format has created. I don't think they're going to go completely the other way. I don't think it's going to go back to a full season points format the way that some people would say. I would even doubt that they would go back on the win and you're in.
I mean, who knows? Seems like NASCAR makes up rules and all that on a day-to-day basis. So, um, I did, I did forget. Speaking of changing things, um, before we move into our next segment, I did forget that a little bit of news came out this week regarding next year's schedule, as far as the playoffs go, and the big one being that Talladega is going to be the second to last race in the third round of the playoffs right before the championship. Jamie, how do we feel about having a super speedway in the round of 8?
I hate it. I really do. Because restrictor plates are such wild card races. You don't really like. Yeah, you're gonna have your marquee few who just have a knack for super speedway racing, but it's not. It's not. I'll argue up and down. It's not full. It's not a skill track. It's a strategy track. I gotta be in the right place at the right time, and hope to God that I avoid the big one.
It's also very much a teamwork track.
Right. And when we're talking about playoffs, teammates are out of the window. Like, I could give 2 less craps if my teammate is going to make it into the final round if I'm trying to get into that final round. I am out there trying to compete to the best way I can to make sure that I get into the round 4 to race for the championship. Super speedway racing should be the last race going into the playoffs. That way, it gives that one per random person that one last Hail Mary to try to make it into the playoffs with the current format. That's where I think Talladega and Daytona races like that should sit. Not in the playoffs. Playoffs are for the skilled tracks, for the skilled drivers, and may the best driver win. That's how I feel.
I mean, I don't disagree, but let me throw this at you. You know, let's say they roll into Talladega next year, and let's say a team like Hendrick Motorsports, they got all 4 cars in the playoffs, but 3 of them got eliminated in the previous rounds, and you're left with a Chase Elliott. If you're the other 3 drivers, are you going to try to help Chase Elliott win to get into the round the championship 4, or is it still every man for himself and you're just going to try to win the race?
Oh, if you're already eliminated, then obviously you're going to do the teammate thing and try to make sure that your teammate gets in, which could create further issues because then you could have teammates potentially trying to dictate the race. And let's say we get into a scenario where there's 2 lines of traffic. Chase Elliott is on the inside with Bowman behind him. And then you got, let's say, Byron on the outside. And there's a random driver behind him, and then Kyle Larson is behind that other driver. Like, you could see a world where let's say for whatever reason, Bowman eases off the gas a little bit and causes a chain reaction on the final lap, and there happens to be a wreck on the final lap. Chase Elliott wins. It creates avenues for shady things to happen that isn't based on skill. And as a Chase Elliott fan, like, yeah, I'd be happy he made it into the Final 4 by winning the race, but at the same time, I would not be happy because it's not a legit win. It's not him earning that win. It's him being in the right place at the right time, and his teammates ultimately dictated the outcome of the race.
All right. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Talladega being that second to last race there in that round?
Well, I feel like we talked about this last week. I don't know if the episode actually got sent over to the guy who posts them, but yeah, I feel like Talladega has kind of found its home in the round of 12, and I feel like it fits good in that spot because with it being in the round of 8, it feels too close to the joke idea of one day they're just going to put the championship for at Daytona. which would be a complete joke, and I sincerely hope that they never do that. But moving it to the round of 8, where Talladega will lock someone into the championship 4, again, I feel like you're getting too close to it. I think round of 12 is fine because you've potentially eliminated a couple of the drivers who got in on lucky wins in the first round in real tracks, but you're also not locking them into a championship round on it. That's why I feel like the round of 12 just works pretty perfectly for Talladega.
All right. Tyler, what about you? Tyler, you are muted still.
It was in a bad area, sorry. I'm back.
No, you're good.
So I actually kind of like. I don't like the fact that it goes in an 8, but I like the fact that Talladega's in the play.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like one super speedway belongs in the playoffs, especially with how much emphasis and the fact that we now have 6 super speedways in the series. I feel like one of them has to be in the playoffs. Now, I don't necessarily like the fact that there are 2 of them this year.
Now, my personal opinion on the fact that like it's in round 8, I mean, honestly, I don't care for it. But honestly, it could be a good or a bad thing. You never know until the race happens. But it also depends on like who's desperate, who's not. And also, like it being at second to last, it could also make for interesting strategy race too. If you think about it, it could be one of the best. It could actually make one of the best TP Speedway races, or one of the a crapshoot. You never know until the race happens. So I have no personal opinion on it until the race happens.
Yeah, we've seen round of 8 truck races at Talladega, and they're always crapshoots.
But that's the truck, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that is round of 8 racing at Talladega. Everybody diving for every last point that they can get to try and maybe even lock themselves into a championship run at a track that, yeah, is fairly luck dependent.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of with Tyler on this. I'm not going to really give an opinion until I see it actually happen, and then I'll give an opinion on it.
And then you have, real quick, and then on the other side of the coin, because obviously there's more than just lucky winners at Talladega, you could have the one person who misses out on the playoffs on the championship 4 by 1 point because they got collected in somebody else's mess at Talladega too. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's more than just the winner potentially locking in. It's somebody getting involved in something that's completely not their fault.
It also like could the fact that nobody can be locked in at all after the race, if you think about it.
Well, Ryan, it's funny that you say that. I mean, granted, it's not happening this year due to the scheduling with the Olympics and stuff, but for the last couple of years, we've seen Daytona be the regular season finale, and you've had guys going in there on the cusp of making the playoffs and have guys getting knocked out because they got caught up in someone else's wreck. What was it? Last year or the year before when Austin Dillon won the summer race at Daytona after,
2
rain
years ago.
caused the whole field. Yeah, when rain caused the whole field to wreck, Austin Dillon won the race and Martin Truex Jr. got knocked out. So who's to say that, Talladega wouldn't be any different in the playoffs?
I think that they would be up in the playoffs, but there'd be more reckless driving. I mean, it also it depends on like how the drivers view it as well. It's like, yeah, it could be chaos, but they may not push early on to prevent people from making big cracks. So it might be like a single file race at the beginning of the race, and then when stage 3 hits, that's when the action.
Well, and not to go too much back to what we saw this weekend at Richmond, but if you're a teammate of a driver who's in the same championship 8 trying to make it there, do you start trying to push the other drivers in that championship spot into unfortunate spots, like trying to force them in, trying to push them into situations where they'll end up 3 and 4 wide?
I think I do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because you can do that while not making it look intentional by just giving a nice solid push and basically trying to shove someone into a gap that they really shouldn't fit into.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a one of those dog eat dog races come next year. But we're going to move into our green flags and black flags now. Again, for our new listeners out there, green flags is something or a few things that we liked during the race weekend, and black flags is things that we did not like. And we are going to kick it off with Jamie.
So, green flags, I'll say the overall racing minus the last lap stuff.
That last lap wasn't racing.
I agree, but I'm just leaving a little citation there. But the overall racing with the option tires was fantastic. It definitely added something that was needed for Richmond. Just seeing the differences that those tires make. So kudos to that. Only caveat is I wish we would have known beforehand that they only had 2 option reds. And we found that out at the halfway point of the race and not at the very beginning. So as just somebody who likes to have all the information up front, just because I'm weird like that, I would have loved to have known that, but it didn't really dictate the overall outcome of the race to me. I think it was a great race. Black flag. This is where silly Jamie comes out. Why is it that the broadcasts feel like that they need to be different than the rest of motorsports? Why are you going to call the primary tires primes? Like, this isn't Logan Paul advertising for tires.
But it could be.
Well, then slap the prime logo in the center of each wheel well, if it is. But it's primary tires and it's soft tires. It's not the option reds. It's the primaries or the softs. Let's just use the same terminology that everybody else uses, and just because we're NASCAR, let's not be different and call them different.
My primary and option, I just didn't like how they were trying to call them primes, not primaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My point exactly.
IndyCar calls them primes and options.
I think that's what Jamie was getting at. What about you, Ryan?
All right, so I guess for my green flag, I'll give it to Richmond and to an extent, but I know a lot of it is due to the tires. But I think this race here proved and gives a reason to potentially either keep Richmond at least with 1 date or maybe even keep them with 2. I think that kind of racing is what we saw for the first 400 laps was exactly what we want to see going forward at pretty much all the short tracks. And the red flag, I'll give it to Austin Dillon for what he thought he was seeing going through the wreckage at the last lap, where he was just turning left and right.
Yeah. What about you, Tyler?
Oh, my green flag is definitely just the racing in general this weekend. It was actually fantastic racing this weekend, and the pace difference was great. That there's better strategies. It was honestly one of the more eventful Richmond races in the last 20 years.
All right.
My black flag. Joey Logano for being Joey Logano and Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon for being a dipshit and wrecking Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano. and then Joey Logano for being an asshole and burning out his tires in front of a family.
Also, real quick, I don't know if you had this on the rundown, Greg, but did you mention it? Did you have it on there to mention the appeals?
I did not. Yes, going back to the penalty thing real quick, RCR did put out a statement after the penalties that were announced that they were disappointed and did not agree with the penalty and that they will be appealing probably, if I had to guess, sometime this week or early next week.
Yeah, I assume the appeal will be filed over the next couple of hours, and then the actual appeal won't be heard until Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Yeah. So my green flag goes to NASCAR for bringing the soft tire to Richmond to try just to experiment to see what kind of racing it would give us, and it was very good. Like I said earlier, it was a very big step in the right direction. I loved it from start from lap 1 to lap 399. I love the race, and it was really cool and fun to see the strategies that were thrown out there. The team's trying to figure it out, and the fact that the tire only had about a 40 to 50 lap life on it. It's exactly what we've been wanting to see for God knows how long now, when it comes to tire wear. And you saw a lot of comers and goers and stuff. I loved it. My black flag, without stating the obvious here, goes to the idiot fans that I have seen online, bringing up examples of, Denny Hamlin did this or Joey Logano did that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they may have done stuff like that, but there was never anything that egregious. Like you wrecked the top two guys to win the race. That is the first time I can say I've ever seen that either in person or on TV, where a guy cleans out first and second place to win the race. So, yeah,
I
my black
mean,
flag
one
goes
could
to
argue that
the
McDowell
fans.
did that when he shoved Brad Keselowski into Joey Logano in the 2021 Daytona 500.
Yeah, I mean, you could bring that up, but at the same time, that's what we've talked about as far as super speedways, pushing and you know Joey made a move, or no, Brad went to go make a move. Joey blocked, and McDowell was there pushing Brad, and it was just a push gone wrong. It wasn't anything egregious. Like, it's not like he meant to just shove Keselowski in there and cause a massive wreck on the last lap. This instance, Austin Dillon knew exactly what he was doing. He knew he wasn't going to beat Logano unless he sailed it in there, and then he listened to a spotter, wreck Hamlin, and ended up getting himself a win, but shot himself in the foot in the process as well. But we are going to now go into our preview of Michigan this weekend and our race picks. Michigan 2-mile track up in Brooklyn Hills, Michigan. Seen some pretty decent races there. I think this car does fairly well on big tracks like that. After this, it'll be 2 races left in the regular season with Daytona and Darlington. And as I announced in our group chat earlier this week, Daytona and Darlington will be worth double points as far as race picks. But a special announcement is that when the playoffs start, everyone's points will be reset to 300. And whoever is in first place at the end of the regular season after Darlington, after points are updated after Darlington, will receive 15 bonus points.
Boom, boom, bam, baby.
So make your picks accordingly after this. I have our names on the wheel. What's
I
that?
do have my Michigan trivia question.
Oh,
And if
yes.
we're
And
tied,
if you're tied, then I will go back through the standings and see who has the most wins, and that will be the tiebreaker. But I have the names on the wheel here. I don't know if you can see my camera. And the first pick will be Jamie.
For once, I get the first pick. I am going to go with Ryan Blaney.
All right. Good pick. Ryan Blaney. All right. Next pick will be me. Let's see. Who is good at Michigan? I don't even know who won there last year.
Busher.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did win there last year. You know what? I am going to take Busher's teammate, Brad Keselowski. So his home race, he's due for a win there.
You think a Michigan driver will actually win at Michigan for the first time ever?
I'm hoping so. All right, next pick will be Ryan.
All right. Well, you did kind of leave Busher open for me, so I will go ahead and I'll take the 17.
All righty. Ryan picks Chris Busher. And last but not least, make sure the wheel lands on him. It will be Tyler.
I mean, you left some really good picks on the table, guys. You left Hendrick out. I'm going with Kyle Larson.
All right.
I can't believe you guys left Kyle Larson out.
I wanted to be a
Kyle
little bit
Larson.
I was going to say,
different.
we all went Ford.
Yeah. When was the last time Chevy won at Michigan?
Probably
That's
when Kyle Larson won during his domination tour.
No, actually, Ryan Blaney won that race in 2021.
They didn't have two races there in 21?
nope.
Let me see here.
So, I mean that was part of my trivia question.
So the last time Chevy won at Michigan was Kyle Larson in 2017.
Yep, and he wasn't even in the 5 car.
Yep, that was the 42.
Nope, he was in the 42 Target machine before Target got kicked out.
Yep. But before we close the show out, it is time for Jamie's trivia. Jamie, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, that was going to be one of my trivia questions. Was when was the last time a Chevy actually won at Michigan? But spoiler alert, you kind of already took that one. So,
My apologies.
of the current field, who has the most wins?
Okay, so active drivers. All right, Ryan, you go first.
Most wins among active drivers at Michigan. I mean, is it crazy to think Kyle Larson with 3 could be it?
Tyler? I guess he's having some technical difficulties again. I'm gonna have to go with Ryan and go with Ryan's side on this. I'm gonna say Kyle Larson.
And the survey says for both you and Ryan, you guys got it correct. It is Kyle Larson with 3.
All right. I'll say that was kind of. Didn't he win like 3 in a row or 2 in a row,
Yep,
and then
he won
one
Yeah,
three
he
later
in a
on?
won
row.
3 in a row, 2016, and then he swept the 2-mile tracks in 2017, including Auto Club.
And right behind him is Denny Hamlin with 2.
Oh wow! I see.
Harvick also
That was
tied it 2 when he swept them in 2020.
Harvick does not count because if Harvick count, he would be the winner.
Oh yeah, I forgot he's not active anymore.
yeah.
Because
Denny Hamlin was going to be my next guest.
Kevin Harvick has 6 wins at Michigan.
Holy crap!
Yes.
That's a lot.
In the past 10 years, Kevin Harvick has 5 wins.
Oh wow! Nice. All right. Well, I guess that just about does it for us tonight. I forgot to mention it at the top of the show. A big thank you to our band, the Alkali Project, for the intro and outro music for this podcast. Please be sure to check out their album, The Blood World. We need to check in on Will to see if he's working on any new music and all that stuff. And a big thank you to our sponsors, Fanatics, Duke Cannon, Century PC, Sleeves, Bulletproof Coffee, W Energy, and Fubo TV. Thank you for sponsoring this podcast. Please be sure to click on the affiliate links in our podcast description, wherever you get your podcast. But with that, this has been The Lap Down. I'm Greg, and for Jamie, Ryan, and Tyler, we will see you guys after Michigan. You guys be safe out there. We'll see you
Great
next
job,
time.
NASCAR, for doing the right thing.
Yes. Got
And
it right.
please, appeals panel, don't change it.
Don't change it. Keep your big boy pants on.
All right. Deuces, guys.
Deuces.